Hi, it's Tim from Toy Tinker Tim, and before I start this episode, I want to cover some very important things about safety. This episode is going to get into some more specialized chemical, so it's important. Get yourself some kind of eye protection before you handle any of the chemicals in this one. And then, of course, you want to have some kind of non-porous gloves on, and you might want to even think about like a long sleeve shirt. That wouldn't hurt if you wore something like that as well. But I just want to make it stressed and cleared here now before you start. Make sure you have some personal protection equipment. You don't want to lose your vision. You can get chemical burns, and yeah, you can heal. It's definitely not going to be any fun, but your vision is something you don't want to take for granted. So that's all. I just wanted to open up with that statement and stress to you it's important to get some eye protection and have gloves for this episode. This Kenner 1980 Hoth Wampa is almost a poster child for what goes wrong visually when white plastics age. The yellowing of the torso and arms are in sharp contrast to the legs. It looks even more dramatic because of the use of the two different types of plastics here. It gives the body a really harsh yellow appearance. Horns are molded in a brown plastic, and the palms and claws are painted onto the hand area of the figure. And the arms are held together by a thick elastic cord and a metal band inside that clamps the end sections of the elastic together. The shoulder socket plastic, it's visually wider than the rest of the arms that haven't been exposed over the years to light. So you've got the horns, painted details on the hands, internal elastic, hollow plastic legs. All of these are reasons why you may be reluctant to just submerge the figure into a hydrogen peroxide bath. For me it is, because I'm sure that hydrogen peroxide is going to end up affecting the elastic banding inside and perhaps lighten or degrade the painted accents on the figure and possibly lighten up the brown plastic horns. So all these are just some of the reasons why I'm preferring to use the gelled whitening approach with this vintage toy figure. I'm starting off cleaning, which is a universal approach. I'm using some Dawn dish soap, a soft bristle toothbrush, and I'm using a spray bottle just with some distilled water to help with the cleaning, to avoid getting water built up inside the figure or the hollow limbs. So after scrubbing down the figure, I'm just rinsing it off again with that spray water and drying it off with a soft lint-free towel. And I'm going to take another step here to try to preserve the painted details as much as possible. So I'm using a liquid latex to essentially paint over details or surface areas that I want to help protect from the hydrogen peroxide. You can use any liquid latex. There is also watercolor masking fluid, which is essentially the same, to brush over areas that you want to try to protect. So, and then when we're done, this latex will just rub off when we're completed all the chemical peroxide work that we're wanting to do. So I've gone through quite a few batches and formulas to get the ratios, the mixing steps, down to the final here of what you see in this episode. It's a lot of perseverance and determination to get there. And if you find my information here in this episode or the other episodes that you've seen helpful, you can join the channel as a behind-the-scenes member to get some of those additional benefits that I put out there as well for members only. Or if you want to do just a one-time thanks type option, you can do that as well. There's a little thank icon that you can do just to let me know that you appreciate and you found the information helpful. So I'm starting out with half a cup of very warm water. Just doing this all in a small glass mixing bowl. And then to this, I'm adding 3/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum. And you want to briskly mix this into that very warm water and make sure you work it in very well. It will gel up pretty quickly, as you can see here. So you want to cover this then and let it stand for about 30 minutes. And then after the 30 minutes, we're going to mix it well again. Now you'll need to either order or check a specialty store for 12% hydrogen peroxide. And I want to stress to you here at this point, you want to wear goggles and gloves when handling this. This peroxide will burn and blister your skin on contact. There's no second chance. If once it makes skin contact, it will burn. It will turn the skin white, which is killing off that layer of skin. So you want to handle this with extreme caution. It's no joke. So I'm measuring out 1/3 cup of this hydrogen peroxide and carefully folding and mixing that into the gel mixture. So after that's fully mixed, cover again and let it stand for another 30 minutes in a cool, darker area. After setting, I'm adding 1/2 teaspoon of the OxiClean and 1/2 teaspoon of glycerin. So after these are mixed, I wait about 15 minutes there. The OxiClean definitely adds some body to this gel mix. In the versions that I've tried without. But I see it this way, it will spread on and cling better onto the surfaces that I'm whitening. Everything's all mixed and ready to go. The gel has a good cling property about it, which is what I'm looking for. Not just for coating, but for the holding, because the pieces will be wrapped in a plastic wrap. First up, I'm coating the Wampa here. This gel is thick enough to use the mixing stick like a spatula and apply it right onto the figure in heaping portions. And it holds pretty well, specifically to the areas I'm wanting it to treat. It's not just kind of going all over the place. After the Wampa is coated, I'm folding this plastic wrap all the way around to cover the areas that are treated. So I'm also trying this on a Mattel Eagle 1 spacecraft. It's not so much the plastic that's yellowed here on these, it's the glue that holds the halves together, and it's a common problem with this particular toy. It's the same process. I'm using the wooden stir stick like a spatula, applying it only to the areas I want to treat, and it's being careful to avoid the decals. I'm going to experiment here because I've got questions about peroxide treatment on clear plastics. So I'm applying this mix to the arms on this figure to see if there will be any positive results. Another test was this quickie on an AT-AT driver. The gray plastic is yellowed, and instead of plastic wrap, I'm just going to place this one in a small Ziploc style baggie. This Major Mason Gamma Ray Guard suffers a similar issue to the Mattel Space 1999 Eagle, where the whiteness of the plastic is good, but the glue seam is yellow, and it really detracts from the coolness of this vintage toy. So using the gel on those areas and avoiding damage to decals is a great use of this process and formula. All of these items are wrapped in plastic or enclosed in a plastic baggie and placed in the sunlight. There's 30 minutes on one side and flip it over for another 30 minutes. You can always purchase a UV light to use instead of sunlight if that's your thing to do. So time now for our after views. I just sprayed the items with water to rinse off the gel residue and dried them off with a soft cloth. I would say the Mason Gamma Ray Guard, the glue line, the yellowing is gone in a dramatic way. And the Wampa is definitely gotten quite a bit whiter. The clear plastic may be brightened a bit, but that yellowing is still there. The peroxide is really going to treat surface and not through that density of the clear plastic. I'm trying to keep the white balance in check here so everyone can see as accurate as possible the results of using the gel whitener. That's why I'm using the white cardstock here as a background to give some final views of the vintage toys after the gel whitening. Now a gallery of before and after of the various items I've used the gel whitening formula on. I actually like this method more than just the peroxide dunk approach. I can make the base gel ahead of time, and then on the weekend or when I have the time, I can add in the peroxide and OxyClean right before I get ready to use it, to have a batch of whitening, both items and gel ready to go that way. Again, if you're in a heavily clouded area and want to invest in a UV light, more power to you. But you don't need to buy any special equipment to do this process. It'd be just the ingredients here that I've shown you to make up this batch. Otherwise, it's not super complicated of a process. So I'm sure this is going to help many people, whether it's vintage toys or some other aged yellow plastics that would benefit from a peroxide-based cleaner. So be sure to click the subscribe, and if you're so inclined, feeling good about what you've learned here, you can click the thanks button below the video. You can choose a dollar amount you'd like to give, or you can become a behind-the-scenes member for access for additional info, advanced views on new episodes, and more. So check it out by clicking the join button. And as always, thanks for watching.